Welcome to a live stream of the Your Next Mission podcast, proudly brought to you by Cavalry Agency, Navy Federal Credit Union, Purdue University Global, and Veterans United Home Loans. Now here's your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army and co-founder of the American Freedom Foundation, Jack L. Tilley.
Hello out there, veterans and families. I'm Jack Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, and your co-host for today's podcast. And this is Your Next Mission, a program initiative of the American Freedom Foundation. And we're live today doing Your Next Mission hiring event right out here in Braun Center at Huntsville, Alabama. So if you're looking for employment, come on down and let us help you out, whether or not it's resumes or just talking to somebody about transition. We want you to come down and talk to us. And for you military people, and the family members too, we don't want to leave your family out, your spouse. But if you're listening to us, come on out. We'll be here until 1500 hours military time and 3 o'clock that civilian time. So come on out and see us. We're also going to do 3 podcasts today. That you can either listen or watch. The first one's going to be about transition. We have 2 great people that are going to talk about military transition from the Army and from the Navy. I'll get between them so they don't have a rivalry or anything like that, but we'll make sure we get through it. Then we have the second podcast we're going to do is going to be from still serving veterans. They're going to talk about all the wonderful things they're doing for our families around the country, helping our families with employment, with post-traumatic stress, whatever. But they're certainly the kind of people that we want to talk to. And then the third session, I tell you what, I really talk about it's just going to be behind the Iron Curtain. It's going to be about Space and Missile Defense Command. They're going to talk about the wonderful things they're not only doing for the military, but what they're doing for our country. So I'm excited about that. I'm really excited to listen to all 3 of those podcasts. Hopefully you listen to every part of it. The second thing is, if you got a question or something you want to tell me about the podcast, you can call me at 844-424-1134. I'll say that again, 844-434-1134. And leave me a text or send me a text and tell me what you'd like us to change or what you'd like us to talk about. You can also send me an email at smatilley@yournextmission.org, and we'll look at that email and we'll get right back to you so we can talk about this stuff. So now let me just introduce our guest. We have Command Sergeant Major John Smith, retired. Thank you very much. And
thanks so much.
Chief Petty Officer, I'm going to make sure I don't mess this up. Chief Petty Officer, retired, Ernest Valine, correct?
Yep.
Well, thanks a lot for being here today, and I appreciate you being on the podcast. I'm sure you have a lot of things you want to do, but before we ever get started, I'm sure the audience wants to listen about or know about exactly who you are. So could you tell us just a little bit about us? We're going to let the Army go first if you don't mind. So go ahead, right. Sergeant Major, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thanks, Sergeant Major, for having me today. It's my name is John Smith, Command Sergeant Major, retired from the United States Army, served 31 years, culminating as a Battalion Sergeant Major, serving in Korea for a General Support Aviation Battalion. Spent my entire career working in Army Aviation, and I was lucky enough to be able to retire in the Huntsville area here, Sergeant Major, and continue working, serving our soldiers and our veterans.
Do you like the Huntsville area, I guess you live in?
It's a great area, and it's growing. So just when you think you've seen it all, something else pops up. Like
the neat thing about it, all these veterans out here, there's a lot of jobs for veterans out here in this immediate area. The only thing I've ever heard negative about Huntsville is they call it Tornado Alley. So I don't know about that. So hey, Sergeant Major, again, thanks a lot for being on the program. Chief, thanks, can I call you Chief, or you want me to call you Ernest?
No, you can call me Ernest. That's fine.
Call you Ernest. Okay, Ernest, go ahead, buddy. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm not new to the Army. I was actually born an Army brat. So
good.
Graduated high school in Germany.
Yeah.
But then I decided to join the Navy.
It's really funny that a lot of people do that already. If their dad or their spouse or their mother was in the service, they go to the others. I don't know why. Maybe maybe they've been scarred for what you was in before. But go ahead.
That makes football fun.
Yeah, everybody's laughing about it already. Yeah.
Well, like you said, my name is Ernest Valine. I was in the Navy for 23 years as a hospital corpsman. So most of my time, I'd say about half of my career, was with the Marine Corps. So as a FMF corpsman, Fleet Marine Force, which I think is 68 whiskey for the Army flag.
I have no idea.
And so from there, after the 23 years, I decided, in 2018, it was time to retire. Brought 3 kids with me from Virginia Beach. That's where I retired from.
Inactive.
To here.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I've got a high schooler, a middle schooler, and an elementary school kid.
Yeah.
And they keep me busy.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. You know, I don't hate to say this, but I got 2 grandbabies, but I have 3 great grandbabies.
Wow.
So I guess I'm just getting a little bit older. Hey, let's get into some questions. I'm sure that, remember people listening out there, if you're going to ask a question, send it to me. But when you approach transition, what kind of things did you think of? What strategic things, where you want to live? Did you have any ideas about what you was going to do? Again, we'll start with Sergeant Major. We'll get it over here. Anything you want to?
So coming from the aviation background, I kind of was leaning towards something in the aviation career field. Had a bunch of great mentors and other senior officers that were getting out of the service a couple years before me, and they started talking to me about the Huntsville area. So when the opportunity popped for me, I jumped on it, seized the opportunity, and I was lucky enough to actually have this as my last assignment too, which really lined up well for me. Kind of gave me exposure to the area, and I could kind of feel out the companies and the jobs that were kind of available here. So again, I'd consider myself a little bit of a unicorn because I don't think a lot of people get to pick where their last assignment was and have it be exactly where they're planning on finishing up their military career and starting the transition to life after the military. So
Yeah.
really lucky for me. But that was really, I think, as you'll hear in most of your transition courses, you know, the right job, the right place, the right timing is everything I was trying to think of and trying to get everything to line up just right for me as I was transitioning out.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to add on just something real quick. Tell me how important networking is and how important is your family in that process, because I think there's a lot of people listening out there that just, maybe they think about it, maybe they don't, but I think the networking or any other little tidbits that you have about that.
I would say those 2 things play heavily into it. I mean, you naturally want to consider your family, and many sit-downs happen on the couch about like, hey, I'm not going to be in the Army forever. What do you think about this location? And then naturally the research into what the schools look like around the area, you know, what the career opportunities are for the family and whatnot. Something that I didn't really think about until I actually got here was, you know, what are the benefits associated with the veteran status in your state? So those can play heavily into them. Some states are a little better than others. I hate to say it, but I mean, everything's different. Alabama had a pretty robust veterans package. And they leaned heavily on, you know, dependent education. So that played heavily for me into picking this area. So to the network, I'd say, as I mentioned, you know, I was already talking to mentors and people that I'd worked with over the years that had transitioned out of the military here in the Huntsville area, and I heard nothing but great things. They said, all roads lead to Huntsville if you're an aviator. You want to find your way to Huntsville if you can. So I just trusted my network and found my way here, and it's been a great opportunity for me, Simon.
Yeah, no, I got a couple more questions for you, but I'm going to come back in a second. How about yourself? You probably forgot what the question was. Go ahead.
Well, for me, it was because I was born here and I've got family here.
Yeah.
That was the way that we came. What you just mentioned about the different state benefits, that was another selling point for me as well. And in the TAP class that I went to, they actually gave us the website. It was militarybenefits.info. And you can go on there and pick a state that you're going to go to, and it lists all the different benefits. And college was an important one for my kids, so that's one of the benefits here. There's tax benefits and also employment opportunities as well.
Yeah. How in the TAP class? How important is that TAP class that you went to? And did you bring your spouse? Yeah.
No, I did not.
You didn't?
No, I didn't. It has a mixed feeling from different people. Because on one hand, they actually want to learn how to go about the transition and doing it smoothly, and other people just think it's a check in the box.
Yeah.
It's advisable to go twice. I went the first, about a year out is when I was planning on retiring. So I went at that time, and then about 3 months before I actually went out. And there was a lot of information that was given. They help you with resumes and translating your military job into a civilian job, get you set up with LinkedIn, those type of accounts. and they try to put you in touch with other people to help out. Like the DAV, for instance, for disability, trying to get all that set up, and they're a great resource because they help you. You give them your medical record, and they go through and tally up all the stuff that you can put a claim in for.
Yeah, you bring up a lot of valid points with it. One thing you brought up that was interesting is you didn't bring your spouse to your to the TAP program. Sergeant Major, did you?
I did not. She actually was fortunate enough to find a job here once we moved to the Huntsville area. So it was kind of hard to navigate getting her time off from work. And truth be told, she trusted me to kind of bring the information home and share it.
Trust is a good word, right?
Trust is the optimum word, actually. So we sat down and we talked about everything that we covered over the course of the days, and like you said, I also went to the course twice and attended. There's a couple others. I know there's you had talked about earlier about starting your own business. They offer a boots to business course that you can attend. So there's a lot of great opportunities out there, that's kind of woven inside of the SFL TAP banner that really helped us take care of, the veterans transitioning out.
Yeah. I tell you, the people that are listening today, I would tell you that you should always bring your spouse to transition classes. You guys, if you look back, you'd probably say, I wish I would have did it now. But the key to success, I'm going to tell you about my transition real quickly here. I got out of the Army. I didn't work for about 90 days. And one day my wife said, don't you have something to do? And she made me, really, that's when I went to work. So transition is important. Hey, we're talking to Sergeant Major John Smith and Ernest Valine. I don't want to make sure I'm correct, Chief Petty Officer, and you're doing an absolute great job. And I want to tell you guys again one more time, if you want to reach out to me and talk to me about all the things that are going on, ask questions. I want you to ask questions. 844-424-1134. Text me. Tell me what you need, and I'll help you out. I'm going to do everything I can to help you out. Or email me at smatilley@yournextmission.org. Or we're on social media channels, so look at that social media channels. Send me a message. Tell me what's going on, and tell me what you think you need to know about your transition. So let's get back to what we was talking about a minute ago. As you look back on the things you're doing, is there anything else that you wish you would have did a little bit different as far as when you started that process of transition?
Well, the one thing you can never get back is time. You always wish you'd have started a little bit earlier, and especially with transitioning out of the military, there's a lot of opportunities out there. Like I was thinking about this particular question, the credentialing online, the credentialing opportunities online that they offer through the government education system that you can do depending on if you figured out exactly what you want to be when you grow up post-Army. And what you want to do, you can. There's DAU Defense Acquisition University courses that you can take online if you're planning to do something in the acquisition world. I mean, there's a ton of opportunities out there that you can do, and you should probably start working on well in advance of that 1 to 2 years. So that sooner you start thinking about a sergeant major, sooner start developing your map, you'll be better off. That's the one thing I wish I'd have done is seize some of those opportunities a little earlier, and rather than trying to do them after I got out of the military.
Yeah. Chief, how about yourself?
Yeah, that's a good point. And within TAP, they tell you about all these different things that are out there that you can connect with, but the disconnect is when I was doing it in Virginia, it didn't reach out that far. So when I moved here to Huntsville, and they bombard you with all this information, and you're just supposed to take it and run, put your resume into USA Jobs, and it'll work.
Did USA Jobs help you very much?
No, it didn't help at all. Neither did some of the other online programs as well. I found that networking was one of the better, especially with still serving veterans. I didn't even know about them until I actually moved here to Huntsville.
How'd you find out about them?
I was unemployed. I was unemployed for about a year.
Wow.
Then, So because, again, in the military, you seem to think, okay, well, you're going to this job, you're going to that job, and figure it out.
Yeah.
So when you let go, I assume for me, a job will just fall in my lap. Yeah. And that wasn't the case.
Well, I think a lot of people think that way because they wait until the last second before they ever get out of the service, and they don't realize that they're going to have a job. They got to have a job. So those are really important. Tell me, how important is a mentor And I'm going to start with you, Chief. How important is a mentor? I guess the question is, did you have a mentor?
I didn't at the time
But
in
you do
Virginia,
now?
but I did when I got here. And they're the ones that pushed me towards still serving veterans.
Yeah.
And once I did, and what's great about them is they sit you down, they work on your resume, kind of the same thing. But what's different is that they actually are in the weeds of all the different job openings.
What do you mean in the weeds? They have a list of jobs? Or?
Yeah, well, they get a hold of them somehow. I'm sure that they have their
It's that
advertisement.
networking process.
Right. I don't know the magic behind the curtain, but
Yeah.
but they take your resume and they take the job and they match it together, and if you're a fit, they give you a call and say, hey, you need to call these people and see if you can get an interview.
Yeah. Sergeant Major, how about yourself?
I'd say networking is extremely important, Sergeant Major, and I started just kind of looking back on who I kept in contact with. It's one of the things we don't do typically, for at least from the Army side. We move around so much that you got a great friends while you're assigned to that organization, but you don't necessarily stay in contact with them as well. I think Facebook, LinkedIn, some of those applications make it a little easier nowadays to reach out and say, hey, what are you doing? I'm about to get out of the military. How was your transition? Blah, blah, blah. Kind of start some of that dialogue with some of your former leaders and whatnot, and that's exactly what I did.
One of the interesting things is, and I tell people all the time, if I haven't talked to you for 20 years and you call me up on the phone, it's like I talked to you yesterday. Nothing changes. So reaching out to people that you need to talk to, it's really pretty easy. In fact, I had somebody the other day that, again, I hadn't talked to him in 20 years and called me and say, I need your favor. I know I hadn't talked to you for a while, but could you help me out? That's important. Do you ever get any phone calls like that? Or Chief?
I've had a couple that have reached out and have said, hey, how's it going? How's retirement life? And and have asked a couple questions. Well, what did you do when you retired? What are you doing now? And I reach back as best as I can, and this is what I'd recommend you do, and to get everything situated.
Yeah.
Like John said, time is. You think you've got a lot of time, and it goes quick, especially that last year.
How important is education? You stammered for a second.
I was waiting to see if he was
okay. Go ahead.
But no, I'd say it's nearly impossible nowadays to not have an advanced degree and get a job in society. I hate to say that. It makes you far less competitive without it. So I would say, again, that would be one of those things similar to certifications that you want to start early. And there, especially with the tuition assistance programs that the military has, it's probably one of the most wasted programs that the Army has that just not enough people take advantage of.
Yeah.
But I think it made a huge difference for me. It made me much more competitive when I was in transition.
Do you have a degree?
I do, Sergeant Major.
Okay, a bachelor's, master's?
Bachelor's degree.
Bachelor's. I would say that most people that I've talked to here lately have bachelor's and master's degrees, and some of them even doctorate degrees because of the focus that we've had on the last probably 20 years on education. How about yourself?
I've got 2 master's degrees.
2 masters?
2 master's degrees.
What are they in? And do you work in that area?
My most recent one, yes. Okay. I've got an MBA.
Yeah.
And that's the other one is exercise science.
Oh, wow.
So it's a master's in education.
Yeah.
And then a bachelor's in information systems management. So a lot of different education pieces because I wanted to do different things. And being in the medical field, again, if you're going to retire or transition out, if you don't have those certifications, those degrees that I have are not worth anything in a hospital.
Yeah.
So the last 3 years of my career is when I went to get my MBA because I was transitioning to a different section. Mm-hmm. And what's difficult is that I've got the education, but not the experience. Or I've got the experience, but not the education. So trying to get those together is important.
Yeah, again, I hate to keep throwing stuff at you, but as you go in, did you tell me about the interview process, how you did that stuff? I mean, obviously you was interviewed when you did your job. Was that difficult as far as the interview? And just prepping for the interview, I guess.
I think from the enlisted standpoint, one of the things I tried to do was look at our promotion board system, the semi-centralized promotion board system. I mean, I tried to compare it to that and prep myself just like I would for a board. I thought I didn't have the magic book of questions, but I had some ideas of what they were going to ask me. based off some of the mock interviews that we did, murder boards or murder interviews that we did through SFL TAP. And they really helped out in preparing me for what to expect during the interview process.
Yeah.
So.
It's really funny you just said that, because I tell a lot of people that if you sit down and interviewed with somebody on a promotion board or whatever, it really prepares you as far as doing an interview. How about yourself?
Yeah, it's on the same lines there. One of the things that I had learned was whatever the job scope is, you're looking at the job scope, and each one of those you try to get your experience based on that, what they're looking for. So whenever they're talking to you, you can just name off back, because everything that you talk about in your experience is based on what they're looking for already.
Yeah.
And I think that helped quite a bit in my latest interview. And it was pretty hectic, I think. It was a phone interview, and an in-face interview, and then three people in one day. So it was a pretty hectic interview, but it worked out.
How you bring up a really interesting point. How important is a resume? I know you're sort of talking about, when I got out of the military, somebody said, do you have a resume? And I said, sure, I got two. One military and one civilian resume. How important is that?
I'd say for me, he kind of touched on it. It's really pairing your resume to the scope of the position you're applying for. Like as you said, you had two resumes, kind of laying everything out, like this is everything I did kind of thing, and making that match to what the job positions you're applying for. There's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all resume.
Yeah.
You really have to tailor it. There's really some specific metrics you got to kind of meet depending on what the position is asking you for. So that's a skill you need to develop, and you definitely have to. SFL TAP worked with us to kind of teach us some of those things, like this is what you did, this is what this position's asking for, this is how this translates into that kind of. They really help you connect the dots and build those skills that you need for tailoring your resume for specific positions you may be applying for.
Ernest, about the same thing? I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of check marks that go into the resumes, and that's again where networking comes in, because if you've got the boxes checked and you know that you can do that job, networking is what helps you, because they'll say, look, I know this guy, he's good. Kind of diverts, especially with those online computers that you have to get through with your resume. Makes it a lot difficult to get through.
What about dress for success? I always hear people talk about how important it is to dress for success, and any thoughts and ideas? I mean, I remember we did a hiring event years ago out in San Diego, and somebody showed up in cutoffs and tennis shoes, and I thought, man, I wonder if they're going to get a job. But how important is that?
I think it's extremely important, especially if you're going in higher than what you would actually wear during work. So if you're wearing khakis and a polo, you're going to wear a tie or a button up or something. You want to go just above for that interview process to look your best.
Yeah. I always say you can always dress down, but leave that side. Hey, any final thoughts? We're going to have to wrap up. First of all, let me say I've enjoyed talking to you guys. Any final thoughts or something you'd like to leave the audience with?
Take advantage of all these programs.
Yeah.
The Your Next Mission program, still serving veterans. There's some great organizations out there that are dedicated to doing what us as senior NCOs in the military do, and that's taking care of soldiers. It's not just up until the day you retire. It's really you can get involved in those organizations and help other soldiers as they're in their transition. So take advantage of it and get involved as much as you can, Sergeant Major. That's what I'd recommend for the
be
audience.
Part of the team.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anything for you?
I think preparing earlier to make sure that you've got enough time to get everything.
2 years out. I think it's 2 years out.
2 years is probably good. It doesn't mean stop working. It just means prepare. So it's actually working a little bit harder and knowing that you're not going to be able to do it all on your own. That's what these services are for, is to help the veterans to get out there and be successful. And cause it's going to tie you up if you're trying to do it all on yourself.
One last thing. We're supposed to wrap it up here in a couple of minutes, but how hard was your change? Did it take you a while to adjust to the civilian sector? Real quick.
Not really, Sergeant Major. I mean, again, for me, I was fortunate. I was exposed to the civilian sector a little bit in the last 2 years that I was in the military. So I was able to kind of see the dynamics and see the relationships and the interaction between what we would call the green suitor and the civilian workforce. So I was a little bit more prepared than probably my average MTO unit sergeant major that was retiring out of the military that may not have that same level of exposure. So fortunate for me.
Yeah, how about yourself, real quick? Yeah.
I'm still trying to get used to it. I mean,
it took me about, I don't know if I ever got adjusted.
Right.
So
because there are people that just don't understand.
No.
They just don't get it.
Well, I agree 100%. It's hard to adjust. I'm really serious about that. It took me a while to figure out exactly what I needed to do. So, it's tough. And so for all those veterans out there that are listening, I know how difficult it is and to make that adjustment. So listen to some great information right here. Real quick, we did about a 30-minute segment, but it's really neat. I can't thank Sergeant Major Smith. God bless you. Thank you for coming on here today. And
thank you, Sergeant Major.
Petty Officer Ernest Veline, make sure I don't mess that up. I can't thank you enough for being on the show, and thank you for what both you guys do for our veterans and really our country each and every day. And I'm Jack Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major in the Army, and you're watching live stream Your Next Mission podcast, and I don't want you to run away. I want you to stay with me because we got a lot more to offer you this afternoon. We got 2 more podcasts that you're watching, so we're going to take a break. Don't go away. Come on back.
You're watching a live stream podcast from the Your Next Mission Veterans Hiring Event at the Braun Center in Huntsville, Alabama, proudly presented by the Cavalry Agency. They help brands dominate no matter their size. Ideas, strategy, action. This is Cavalry. Learn more at cavalry.com. Navy Federal Credit Union, the most trusted credit union owned by members of the military community, serving all branches of the armed forces and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Purdue Global, providing affordable online education for hardworking adults. Learn more about a personalized, innovative, and world-class education at PurdueGlobal.edu. Veterans United Home Loans, the #1 VA lender for 5 straight years. If you're buying, they're funding your dreams. Learn more at VeteransUnited.com. Now back to your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army and co-founder of the American Freedom Foundation, Jack L. Tilley.
Welcome back, all those veterans and families. I probably shouldn't remind you, but I'm Jack Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, and I'm your host for today's podcast. And thanks for coming back, or thanks starting, one or the other, though. Your Next Mission is a program initiative of the American Freedom Foundation, and we're right now live at Your Next Mission hiring event and at the Braun Center in Huntsville, Alabama. So if you're in the immediate area and you're looking for employment, whether or not it's a job, a resume, or just need to talk to somebody about your transition, come on down, let us help you out. Let us do something for you to assist you in finding that employment. Now we're going to be here today, military time, 1500, right? Military time, 1500 or 3 p.m. for you civilians out there. So I don't want you to run away from us. Also, I want to remind you that we're going to talk to still serving veterans here in just a couple of minutes about what they do for our veterans and our families. Also, after this next podcast or watching this next podcast, we're going to talk to Space and Missile Defense Command, and they're going to tell us about all the things that Space and Missile Defense Command does for our country and for our veterans. So I'm just really excited for you guys to be here today. I don't want to mess this up, ma'am. You know I don't want to mess this up. Now they said introduced you as President and CEO, but I'm going to say Major General Paulette Risher, President and CEO for Still Serving Veterans.
Thank you, sir, Major.
And I'm going to make sure I look at the card right. Senior Chief Petty Officer and Chief Programming Officer for Still Serving Veterans. Jim, and I'm going to call you Paulette.
Please do, please.
Thanks a lot for being on the program. I'm pumped up. I don't know about you. I got the mood right here. So I'm excited if I can keep all these cards straight here. So again, I can't thank you enough. And I can't, before we ever get started, I just want to personally thank Still Serving Veterans really for what they do for our veterans and family. Almost makes me get me teared up because here's some people right here that care so much about our veterans and family, and they have dedicated their lives to do all they can. So God bless each and every one. So before we ever got started, because you don't want to listen to me talk all the time, or do you? I don't know. But before we get started here, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And no. We got to go to you first, ma'am. Come on, ma'am. Don't do that to us.
Okay, so thank you so much. And Jack, as you know, I'm a serial retiree.
What does that mean?
That I have retired twice. Once as from 34 years of service with the Army, active and reserve.
Yeah.
Retired from U.S. Special Operations Command in 2006.
Uh-huh.
And I retired from the United States Air Force as a civilian, as an organizational psychologist. And since then,
Don't try to compute my brain right now.
I've tried. I've given up, Jack.
Okay.
So I've spent most of my life doing two things: defending the nation and taking care of the troops.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the little old gray-haired lady now, and I'm not defending the nation. That's someone else's job. But taking care of troops is something that I and my staff can really do. And that's what we do. As you say, it's a calling, and our heart is in this.
Yeah. No, God bless you. I appreciate it. Chief, Senior Chief, or Jim?
So I'm retired Navy Senior Chief Petty Officer. I joined right out of high school, advanced electronics program. I did that for 6 years, and then I found my calling as a recruiter. So I spent the last 16 years working in recruiting for the Navy.
Wait a minute. Was you a good recruiter or a bad recruiter? Or
I like to think I was a great recruiter.
All right.
They let me stay in it for 16 years, which generally, if you're not a good recruiter, they're not going to let you stay in it that long.
You out real quick. All right.
I got my education while I was on active duty, retired in 2010, spent the next 11 years working in higher education, academia, in various roles. Moved to Huntsville about 2 years ago and found this organization and really found my calling. Taking care of veterans. Now, I've always been a mentor for veterans. I've been a part of Veterati and several other mentor programs in the organizations that I worked for. But now I can make this my full-time job. And so I'm just so thrilled to be able to do this and help out veterans in their career transition, their VA benefits, or anything else they may need.
I'm going to throw a question at you. I wasn't going to ask this, but what's the greatest accomplishment you've had with serving veterans or helping veterans? I'm just throwing it at Jim right now.
That's a great question, and there is no one greatest accomplishment. Yeah. Because I was a recruiter, I celebrate a lot, and I'm a cheerleader.
Me too. I celebrate every day.
Every time a veteran finds meaningful employment, the joy in their voice when they tell you, or even the joy in the email, how excited they are that they found something else, whether they transitioned a week ago or whether they transitioned 5 years ago. There's just a joy in somebody being able to start that next career. That first day is always the greatest.
It's really funny. I've been out of the Army a long time now, and one of the things that really make me feel good was somebody text me and say, 20 years ago today, you helped me do whatever, or 10 years, and I just want to thank you for what you do. I'm going to ask you the same question, ma'am. What's the greatest accomplishment? You said you had gray hair. I have no hair, so that's.
Sergeant Major, I don't know what I could say, but it's the young person who I conned into staying in college instead of leaving and taking a route because she was having trouble. And she called me one day out of the blue and said, I just want to tell you, I'm first lieutenant now, and she was on her way to Korea to take command of an organization, and you've made a difference in my life every day. And she tracked me down as the old retired lady here in Huntsville. And it just makes your heart better.
Yeah, well, I'm going to get right to it. What are the greatest challenges among veterans in terms of employment? And
so
she's throwing that one to you.
Absolutely. I think the greatest challenge is the veterans not really knowing what it is that they want to do. So being unclear about what path they want to go on, what job they want to do, that's one. I think the other one is not having a clear idea of how to create a resume, or not understanding what the resume really is for. The resume is just that step. It's the key that opens up the door that allows you to go to the next process. Not having a strong social media presence. Now, and we're going to talk about this, I think, in a little bit, but with COVID, social media has become so important, and LinkedIn has become so important, and so many veterans come to us, and we're talking folks that have been out for a while, and they either don't have a LinkedIn profile, or their LinkedIn profile looks like it has been updated in 5 years, and they still have their military photo as their background photo. So I think those are probably the greatest challenges that we see. The thing is, and one of the things that we want to do is make sure we take some of the confusion out of it. Everybody has an opinion about a resume. Resume is completely subjective.
I have an opinion.
I know you do. If I send a resume to 10 people, I'm going to get 10 different responses back. And what happens is, and all those responses are going to be different. And so the veteran they'll get confused. Well, which one is the one I should really use? So we talk through the resume is your resume. So the resume that you use is the one that you are the most comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be what you have got to talk to it. So we have lots of folks come to us, well, I paid to have this resume done. Okay, when you do that, then you paid somebody, you became their customer. But as still serving veterans, when we're doing a resume, we're not doing it for you. We're doing it so that you can talk and open up that door to go find.
Yeah, tell me about military jargon. Probably. Wait a minute. I got to get first. What's your biggest challenge? I don't want to let you get off the hook here.
I think Jim's hit it. It's the people that come in and say, well, what do you want to do with your life? And they shrug their shoulders and say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Honey, I can't tell you what to do with your life. And so it's taking back and putting the responsibility, because a lot of people, a lot of veterans, we went right into the military either out of high school or college.
Yeah, I know I did.
We've never looked for a job. We've never had to sell ourselves. We've never had to speak another language.
Another language. That's true.
It is true.
It's a different language.
It is a different language.
I haven't heard anybody said that for a while, but it's true. It really is true.
So that to me is some of the biggest challenges.
Yeah. Jim, I'm going to go back to you real quick. Military jargon. I always talk to people about military jargon, make sure that you don't use acronyms and all this other stuff. What about that? What about military jargon?
We see that more so with transitioning service members than the veterans. Their resume will be full of things that, abbreviations, things that somebody, for example, a soldier comes in and there's things that a soldier would know, any other soldier in the world would know, but a Navy guy doesn't know it.
No.
And so one of the first things if I don't understand it as a veteran, I guarantee you that the person that you're going to be interviewing is absolutely not going to understand it.
Yeah, it's really funny. When I was getting out of service, I went over to the TAPS program and I sat there about an hour or so, and finally went back to my office in the Pentagon. Okay. And I called them and said, would you send somebody over there? And they said, why? Because I don't understand anything this guy's talking about. So I'd like for him to give me a one-on-one class about getting out of the service.
Nice thing about being Sergeant Major at the Army,
Oh, well,
they'll actually do that.
It did help there a little bit. So, yeah. But anyway, go back to the jargon. Yeah, not using acronyms, letting somebody, I'm sorry, Jim, but letting somebody proof it, really go through it. The other thing that, I'm a small business owner too. The other thing that bothers me time is spell check. When you see misspelled words, can you talk about how important those little things are?
I was a hiring manager for 11 years, and I will tell you that one misspelled word meant I did not review your resume.
Yeah.
And our system, we had an applicant tracking system, ATS. If you use PDF, if you use Word, it would do a squiggly line. If I saw a squiggly line, I moved on from the resume.
Yeah.
Very important. Very important to understand that most people don't know this. In Word, if you have a word that is all capitals, it will not spell check it. And then the last thing about spell check is there are words that have same meanings, there and there. Just make sure you're using the right there when you're supposed to use the right there.
Please don't look at anything I send you. Because I think about every time I put there on there, is that T-H-E-R, is it T-H-E-R?
Exactly.
And I usually ask my wife. She knows, but I don't know. Or two. T-O or T-O-O. That's, and the audience, if you're listening to me right now, you think those things are funny, but they're not. They're really critical.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are, God bless you for what you're doing each day. We're talking with Miss Paulette Risher, Paulette Risher, and Jim King, two people that care so much about our veterans and families. And you're watching Your Next Mission podcast live with your host, Jackie Tilley, Sergeant Major of the Army. And And I want to tell you again, I didn't tell you at the start, but I'm going to tell you now. I want you to reach out to me at 844-424-1134 if you want to text me a little bit. You want to tell me what's going on. Or email me at smatilley@yournextmission.org. And I'll actually answer you if you send me a text or email me. And you know, also, we're on some different platforms today, some social media platforms and stuff. So you can send me a message through them. I don't care how you do it, but reach out to me. It's about family. It's about building trust and confidence in all of us. It's about still serving veterans and what they're doing for our veterans and our families. So, you know, this is, you know, it's hard work, but it's work that we can do together as a veterans. And I'm just, if you can't see how pumped up I am, something's wrong with you, because I'm really riled up here a little bit. I don't know. Hey, let's leave off. You know, let's go back. Let's start all over again. Let's pick it off where we left off here a little bit. What advice would you give to a veteran that are seeking employment changes, I guess? And Paulette, you're not going to get out of this one. You're going to have to answer this one.
This one I have several pieces of advice.
You got several? Well, okay.
So first one is take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Stop and think about what you want to do with your life, not just what kind of job you want. What feeds your family and feeds your soul? And too often we'll go for the paycheck. And if you need a paycheck, take the paycheck.
Yeah.
But if you have the luxury of having some time, think about what it is you really want to do. Think about job titles. Don't think about job titles. Think about the content of the work.
Mm-hmm.
We use an acronym called the 6 C's. What's the content of the work you want to do? And almost as importantly, what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
You know, knowing what you do not want to do will really help, you know, focus your job search on things that are meaningful. What's the context? Do you want to work indoors or outdoors? The culture of the organization. Do you want it competitive? Do you want it disciplined and regimented where you know exactly? Do you want it entrepreneurial? What kind of colleagues do you want to work with? You know, in the Army, in the Navy, I'm sure it's the same way.
No, probably not, but go ahead.
Just
no, it is. It
yeah.
is. I'm just, you guys listen, I'm just kidding.
Just kidding, not. But you work with whoever shows up at your door.
Yeah.
But in the civilian world, you actually get a choice. You don't have to work with people you don't like.
Yeah.
This is a big country with a lot of jobs. You can look. What are the constraints of your life? And we all live in constrained lives. What are your physical, emotional, and familial constraints? Do you have commitments to a geography? And what are the things that you may not have told anybody that really are constraints? Get them out and tell yourself, even if I don't care what you tell mama or daddy, but be honest with yourself about that. And then the last thing is compensation. 2 things.
Man,
what do you want?
Yep.
And what do you need?
Yeah.
2 different things.
Yeah.
And we work people through that matrix of the 6 C's, we call it. And that really helps them focus on what kinds of jobs they should be looking for.
Yeah. Not real quickly, let's talk about compensation. I know when I was getting out of the Army, somebody said to me, he says, how much do you think you're worth? And really, I stayed in the Army a long time, and I said, how much you think you're worth? I said, I don't know, 50,000? Is that too much? You know, that may sound pretty naive, but it's not.
Does.
Well, it does. Okay, it does. Okay, but you really bring up a valid point about how much are you worth? How do you figure that out?
Well, one of the things, there are a lot of ways to do it, and education, experience, a lot of those factors in there. Where you want to live is also a big factor. But one of the things that we tell people is, if you think you're going to make $120 a year with a 40-hour work week and not work on weekends, you're naive.
Yeah.
Or I've had people come in to me, I figured I was going to make what I made on active duty. No, you're not. You know, you don't have the right education. And you know, I had a young major tell me that he was hitting 20 and was getting out, and he was delivering Domino's pizza before he found a job that he was making a decent living at.
Yeah.
So it is hard to figure out what it is you're really worth, because we're also confused that your worth as a human being is directly related to how much money you make.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Jim, I'm going to ask you the same question. How did you figure out what you was worth?
So I actually went the other end of the spectrum, as what you said. I retired. I had recently graduated with an MBA from Arizona State University, and I was moving to Tempe. So I said, I'm worth $200,000. I quickly learned that in Phoenix, Arizona, nobody really makes $200,000. It's not very high level. So I was fortunate to have great mentors that really kind of helped me. I did not have an organization. I still serving veterans, but I did focus on some veterati mentors and also mentors at my alma mater, and they helped reel me back in and help me to be able to research exactly what I should be looking for based on what I want to do and where I wanted to live. Again, I was moving to Tempe, Arizona. I knew that. My wife was already there. So it was easy for me to look at what the cost of living was and what the average salary for the kind of positions that I was looking to go into. And that's how I kind of formulated this is what I'm going to ask for.
Yes.
And that's the toughest question. When you're in the interview, that's a tough question.
Well, it's a hard question because how much am I worth? And should you give somebody a number if you're talking to an employer?
This is what I tell people, and my HR managers that are behind us, they will hate this. Do not put a dollar amount on an applicant tracking system. Either put 0 or 1 so that the computer recognizes it as a numeric value. And then when the HR manager says, how much do you want to make? And you say, well, let's talk about the job and let's find out what the responsibilities are. And I'm sure we'll come up with something fair. And they hate it, but the first person who puts a number on the table loses. Either you leave money on the table or you overprice yourself.
Well, just a real quick thought. When you think about if I have an associate's degree, that's additional money. If I have a bachelor's degree, that's additional money. If I have a doctorate degree, that's additional money. The other thing I think is always interesting, if I have medical care, free medical care, TRICARE or something, is that additional money? I mean, some of those resources that an employer is going to give you, does that raise your...
Here's my thought. I always advise people, do not give away your medical care. I've had people who tried to accept a less salary or
that's what I want to hear you say.
Yeah, because of their medical care. Protect that medical care that you worked your life for, because you may need it. That job that sounds so good now may be something you're going to leave in 2 years. Don't be without. I've had people say, I'm just going to drop my TRICARE. And I'm going, don't do that. Really?
You and me both. Well, I got to say real quick, somebody said, I was going to talk to somebody about a job, and they said, well, how much you getting on retirement? I said, none of your business.
That's right.
It's none of your business about what I make on retirement. We're talking about my employment, what you're going to compensate me with. So I think that's really important. It's really important for people to understand it. And it's also important about, and again, I want to hit on it again because I think it's important about your education part, about what you put on there, associates, bachelor's, master's degree. And I'll tell you, if you're getting out of the service, you need to make sure you have that education. That opens more doors.
It does.
That opens a lot more doors. That's for doggone sure. Well, what mistakes do veterans make? I mean, me personally, I made a lot of mistakes in life anyway, but what kind of mistakes do veterans make when they're getting out of the service? And I'm going to put you on Jim, I know you don't want to talk, but I'm going to let you talk.
I'm all about it. So
go ahead.
Some of the biggest mistakes that we see with folks when they come in, I'll give you a good example. I had somebody come in a few weeks ago, and they have a resume, a master resume, and they're applying for an operations manager and a manufacturing supervisor, 2 totally different jobs, and they're using the same resume. The resume is not going to get them either job because they're not targeting their resume. So I guess that's my point.
Real quick, you talk about targeted. When you look at the job description, then you target that job description into your resume?
There's 2 things that you do. So you're going to look at the job description and you're going to identify keywords. The keywords are going to be the skill sets that you want to make sure are in your resume under skills.
Yeah.
And then the second is you're going to want to look for what the job actually does, and then you want to make sure those words are in your resume. But more importantly, you don't want your resume just to look like a job description. Your resume has got to also have some quantitative how you did the job, not just what you did. And we almost every resume that I see, it's a job description, and I coach them on you need to tell how well you did this. As long as you did it well.
Yeah.
Well,
do you
well,
real quick? Do you look for keywords in the resume? I mean, I know when they put them through the computer, there's keywords that stand out. And how do you figure out what those keywords are?
So as a hiring manager, I know what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I've set the ATS, the applicant tracking system, to give me the resumes or score the resumes that have those keywords the highest, but I know what I'm looking for. What I want to see as a hiring manager is I want to see it clearly, I want to see it its own section. That's the kind of resume that I give to clients is skills. It could be skills and abilities, kind of similar to what's on your LinkedIn. Just make sure that if there's a skill listed in the job description, it's also listed on your resume.
Yeah. I cut you off before.
No,
Go
it's
ahead.
okay.
No.
No, and I was going to add the other one today. It's the resumes, but we've talked about LinkedIn and social media.
How important is social media?
LinkedIn can get you a job. Everything else can help you lose it.
Oh, wow.
And I'll tell you the story. I had an individual, very senior person come to me, perfect resume, perfect LinkedIn, can't get an interview. So I go and look at his Facebook. Sexist, racist, political, angry old man.
Yeah.
And I told him I would not even interview you. And nobody sends you a letter and say, "Hey, we didn't like."
Does hiring managers go and look at all those
Absolutely,
things?
virtually.
They look at Facebook and
Oh yes.
wow, I guess I never thought about it. But
Well, and we tell people to do their Google search. When you put your name in Google, your LinkedIn profile should show up there right unless you're the Sergeant Major of the Army. Now, yours is not going to be your LinkedIn profile, but most people...
I'm not putting anything on social media that anybody can criticize.
So that's one of the ones we see a lot, and we caution people. You've got to tell a consistent story between your resume and your LinkedIn and the public persona that you're pursuing. And in this COVID area, that is so important because that's where people are going to look first.
Yeah. Jim, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I agree with everything that she said. I've seen instances where people have lost jobs because of what was on their Facebook profile. So your Facebook is forever. If it's on Facebook, somebody will capture it. If you want to keep your job, just keep it clean, or make it private. That's the other thing. That's what I really make your Facebook private. Your LinkedIn should never be private. You want everybody to see that, because that's how we are recruited. I'll tell you, I've had 5 jobs since I got out of the Navy. 4 of the 5 jobs I've got either being recruited or directly through a LinkedIn or network.
You know, I used to tell people I can smile and think anything I want. I don't need to tell you what it is. I can smile
and nod.
Hey, what is Still Serving Veterans' approach in helping veterans with employment, and how can they reach out to you guys?
So
is that a Jim question?
Yeah, it's both of us because we use the same language because this is what's in our heart.
Yeah.
We offer relationship-based veteran-to-veteran counseling. We do one-on-one counseling, and we also have workshops. I didn't mean to cut you up. Do you bring in the spouse?
We can on a space available basis, and we've never turned a spouse away.
Yeah, I was going to say I've been here just over a year. I've worked with spouses. We've never turned a spouse away. We work with active duty. We work with veteran, honorably discharged. Again, it's based on the needs of the individual that we're working with, and we start where they need us to start. If that is, I have nothing, we'll create a resume for them. If it's, I've got a resume, I've got a great LinkedIn, I just need a mock interview, we'll do mock interviews.
What about, veterans come in with all sorts of issues. I know when I got out of the military, not out of the military, but when I came back out of war, I had anger issues and really a lot of stuff. Do you deal with that too, with people come in and sort of bothered by life?
We're very consistently concerned, because that's why all of our counselors are veterans. A veteran can pick that up in another veteran quicker, and they're more likely to talk to another veteran about it. We have referrals. We have very strong relationships with for example, the local VA clinic, the mental health clinic, the vet center. We know how to get people connected to the help they need. And we also know when we're over our heads. Because, I want to help them with their employment. But you very quickly can get into some really significant and serious issues.
Well, it's funny you say it, because when I was a division sergeant major, I had a couple of people come in and said, Sergeant Major, as a family, said, would you counsel us? And I said, I may, but I don't think I'm the right person. And so I took them to the chaplain. and let the chaplain counsel them, and it worked out a lot better. I mean, but you know, you want to do the right thing, but you can end up doing the wrong thing.
You can.
That's for doggone sure. How do people get a hold of you? I mean, I want to make sure we get that.
The easiest way to get a hold of us is just simply go to our website, ssv.org, SierraVictor.org, and there's a contact form there. We'll be happy to. Almost all the requirements or inquiries go to Jim, and he'll make sure we put you with the right person to help.
Yeah. Do you ever turn anybody away?
We have.
Oh, wow.
But there are people who, we had a pedophile come in. I'm sorry, you can be honorably discharged and a veteran. If you're a pedophile, you're on your own, Bubba. Not helping you. So we do, but that's one out of a million, 100,000.
What about a general discharge? Somebody got medically discharged,
So
do they still qualify? I mean,
what our basic rule is honorable discharge, general under honorable conditions. But I've given my team leads authority, if they have somebody with an OTH other than honorable, to make a judgment about whether to help that person. Because a lot of times what you'll see is people that were young and dumb and often drug related, and they're trying to rebuild their lives. And that one time in their lives, they raised their right hand and swore to support and defend.
You just hit on something that I don't know if we want to get into it or not, but what about drugs? Do you see a lot of that?
We see some.
Pharmaceutical drugs, I know.
You don't see a lot. We're pretty sensitive to it because we've had people that come in are stoned, and frankly, we'll help them with their resume, but we will not refer them to an employer.
Yeah.
You know, so active client do not refer is one of those.
You know, I read something the other day, or I seen something that said during COVID, 93,000 people died of overdoses. And so again, for veterans that are out there that are listening, if you got any kind of drug problem or anything like that that's really bothering you, make sure you reach out to the right people. There's a lot of people there that certainly want to help you.
Well, Sergeant Major, the veteran suicide and the use of drugs are highly correlated.
Oh my goodness.
And so if you are concerned in any way and feel unsafe, raise the red flag.
Yeah.
Call the 1-800 number, call the emergency call number, call somebody and get help.
You know, I'm going to probably not finish on this, but I remember when I come out of Vietnam, and this is a lot of years ago, that I had anger issues. And I remember one time I was stomping on a motorcycle, and I realized I was doing it. And I'd lose my temper really quickly about stuff. And there's probably most of the people that helped me was the non-commissioned officers I was around and officers. But more than anything else was my spouse.
Yeah.
My spouse really helped me out a great deal about about the things that are going on. I mean, in my life, and I'm sure in a lot of your lives, the spouse is really the key to success.
Yeah.
As your best friend. In fact, I've been married a lot of years. I'm not going to tell anybody how long I've been married, but my wife is absolutely my best friend. And so when you hear things about either drugs or unemployment or suicides, I mean, I would just simply tell all the people that listen to you that if you have a problem with that you need to talk to somebody, here's the kind of people that you need to reach out to and talk to. So I just, I can't thank you guys enough. Any final thoughts, anything else you want to say? Don't say you don't got nothing to say because we got a couple more minutes.
Actually, we appreciate the fact that we're out here and able to have face-to-face gatherings again. I'm not sure how long that's going to continue, but we love the interaction. We love being able to finally bump fists, bump elbows, if that's what it takes. We're excited to be here.
Yeah.
I got to tell you quick, my grandson went to school for the first day yesterday, and he took all these little pictures. And so today, his mom was taking him to school again. She says, I'm going to take more pictures. He says, no, it's the second day. You don't need to take pictures today. So I thought that was great. I thought that was unbelievable. So look here, I'm going to call you Paulette if it's
Please
okay.
do, Jack,
Jim,
I love it.
I can't thank you enough for what you guys do and continue to do. And I just want to tell everybody, I'm Jack L. Tilley, and you're watching to live stream on Your Next Mission podcast. And I can't thank you enough for what you're doing. I can't thank you enough what Step Up America is doing for us. But remember, we're in a team. It's all about us together. Don't sit down and think nobody loves you, because we love each other and we want to protect each other. So if you got a suicide problem, a drug problem, whatever the heck it is, reach out to somebody. They'll help you out. And I love what we're doing. I love helping veterans. So I'm going to tell you right now, don't go away. Come back, because we want to help you. We believe in you. God bless you. I see you on the high ground. Come on back.
You're watching a live stream podcast from the Your Next Mission Veterans Hiring event at the Braun Center in Huntsville, Alabama, proudly presented by the Cavalry Agency. They help brands dominate no matter their size. Ideas, strategy, action. This is Cavalry. Learn more at cavalry.com. Navy Federal Credit Union, the most trusted credit union owned by members of the military community, serving all branches of the armed forces and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Purdue Global, providing affordable online education for hardworking adults. Learn more about a personalized, innovative, and world-class education at PurdueGlobal.edu. Veterans United Home Loans, the #1 VA lender for 5 straight years. If you're buying, they're funding your dreams. Learn more at VeteransUnited.com. Now back to your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army and co-founder of the American Freedom Foundation, Jack L. Tilley.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for all you veterans. Hopefully listen to the first 2 podcasts we had today, and I know you're having a lot of fun. I'm Jack Tilley. I'm going to tell you that every time. Jack Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, and I'm a host for your today's show, and I've been having so much fun. This is Your Next Mission, a program initiative of the American Freedom Foundation. We're live right here doing Your Next Mission hiring event. So if you're looking for employment, we're right here at the Braun Center in Huntsville, Alabama. So if you're looking for employment, come on down. Let us put you to work. We're excited about all the things that our veterans and families are doing. So we want to help you out, whether or not it's a job, whether or not it's a resume, whether or not you just need to talk to somebody and sit down and just tell whatever your issues are. We don't care, because we want to help you with everything that you're doing. And we're going to be here until 1500. Right, military time, or 3 p.m. 3 p.m. civilian time. So God bless you for everything that you guys are doing all the way through. We're excited to have. This is going to be our last podcast, and I'm probably going to cry a little bit because I don't want to have the last one here. I'm just all pumped up here already. You can see that, but we're going to talk to the great people at Space and Missile Defense Command today, and I'm going to make sure I get this right. Chief Warrant Officer Wesley Keys and Command Sergeant Major Finis Dotson. I want to thank you to the show and thank you guys for what you're doing. And before we ever get started, though, I'm going to put you on the hot spot here a little bit. I'm going to make you tell us about you. And Chief, to make sure you're straight, I'm going to let Sergeant Major go first.
Hey, that's fine. Go ahead, Sergeant Major.
Well, first of all, SMA and everyone, hey, thanks for the opportunity to be on this show. On behalf of General Copeland and myself, we appreciate what you're doing for the military continuing, especially with bringing people into the workforce. I thought you were going to tell me I had to sing first, SMA.
You know, I can't sing. I don't want to sing, but I would if you want me to sing.
Now, SMA, if I sing, everybody will leave the room and everybody will quit wanting to come to the event. So they'd be like, no, that guy's going to be there. So we're not going to do that. But SMA, that's for everybody. I'm from Mississippi. Been in the Army 34 years. My background is I'm an air defender. Hood, duck hunters, everybody out there.
No, that's not. Just keep that down. Go ahead.
Come on, SMA. Duck hunters. With flies it dies, we are the first line defense.
There you go.
But I love what I do. I'm excited about my service in the military, missing great people, and most of all, I'm in a great command at SMDC, and I can ask for a better workforce and people, and especially in the military in our times right now, that we are value adding and we're in demand, and I'm proud to be here.
Well, I'm going to ask you, I want to go to you. What's the one thing that keeps you up at night in Space and Missile Defense Command? One thing that bothers you a little bit?
Well, let's think about the one thing.
Yeah.
It's one thing, yes.
You can have 2 if you want.
I can have 2, but second time I'll go to 1. But estimate the one thing that really keeps me up is the workforce. When I spoke at University of North Alabama, you look at statistics right now, only 29% of Americans can serve in the military. It's getting that workforce to come in our STEM levels and areas we need them in, and that's the one thing is who we have to backfill us. And like estimated, I was with you as a brigade sergeant major. You came to visit us in Korea, and I I think my scar tissue is kind of healed up some, but it's just the people who coming behind us. Like you retire, you still giving back. I'll retire now. I'm planning on giving back still. It's just the workforce that we have right now is keeping that coming and keep developing those and sharing them what the military have in its inventory. And I talk more about what we do in our command, about for the things we offer. But that's the one thing that really keeps me up, keeps me concerned.
We're going to do a minute, but you know something, you're exactly right. It's the fact about people have to backfill us, and you got to train for the future.
Yes,
I worry sometimes about that because there's a lot of people that don't know much about the military, and that's what we want to do in the show. We want to educate people about what the United States Army and all the other services do, but we want to tell people what they do because you are protectors of all of the free life that we have here. So, Chief, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. That's enough? No, go ahead.
Put my
Well, I'll echo Sergeant Major for sure. Hey, we appreciate the opportunity to tell the SMDC story. And also, I appreciate the opportunity to hang out with a great guy like this for 30 minutes, and I get the luxury of pretty much on a day-to-day basis to hang out with him. So that's pretty cool. I'm a air defender like Sergeant Major. Been in the Army 27 years. Started off as an early systems warning operator as a 14 Juliet. And
say that again. You started out as what now?
Early systems warning operator, 14 Juliet. And
an enlisted guy.
An enlisted guy.
All right.
Absolutely.
I like those enlisted guys.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, from the technical side, from the warrant officers, the enlisted side is our heart and branch for our recruiting.
Absolutely.
So did that. So I was basically a short range air defense C2 systems radar type of guy. And then transitioned over in 2001, become a warrant officer, and I'm an air and missile defense systems integrator. So what really is this? I've been trying to define this job for the last 20 years. It's really hard to define. But, you know, you hear a lot of it today, and what we've been talking about in the conference is this data sharing and the importance of data. So, you know, my main role for many years from the tactical and operational level was to integrate our Army air and missile defense systems with joint systems and multinational systems and even space-based ISR, things that our command does. And then, it's all come to an accumulative effect of being the Command Chief Warrant Officer for SMDC and representing our great warrant officers and our people across the board.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing at this conference.
Yes.
At the conference, you're bringing everybody together to sort of standardize that. One of the things that always bothers me a little bit about space and missile defense, because, to be honest, I used to be in space and missile defense there a little bit, but for a short assignment anyway. But people don't know much about you. They don't know all the kind of things that you do and the things that you work on. And so, Sergeant Major, can you tell me a little bit about the history and the legacy of space and missile defense? Leave my picture out of the frame.
Well, I can't do that. Part of the lineage, you are my predecessor, so I appreciate your service. So, so long as I'm still smiling and what you're doing, I'm in good hands. So I know I got great things to aspire for.
There you go.
SMDC it's kind of an interesting history of us. Being here in Huntsville, Alabama, our command. Go back in history, the first satellite that went into space was on back of a Redstone rocket from us.
Oh, wow.
And so that alone is a great history. But also, Army Space and Army Missile Defense was two different organizations. But in 1997, we came together under one, and now we're SMDC in our command. So our command now, we have the support of SpaceCom at Army Service Component Command to them. We're also Army Service Component Command to StratCom out of Nebraska and Oxford. And also we support NorthCom. And also we're direct reporting you into the Army. So our history has come a long way from the first satellite going up in space to now that we've come the new Army Service Component Command to SpaceCom. So the history is rich, but it's all about the people. Without the people, it's nothing. But like you, SMA, that's what makes the organization great. And we're proud as a command, and we continue business strong, and we're technology and everything is going well.
So tell me a little bit, and this is probably both of you guys' question. Tell me a little bit about what you bring to the warfighter. And I think most people don't know this, so I know it. But tell me a little bit what you bring to the warfighter. And Chief, we're going to start with you if you don't mind.
Well, obviously we bring space, missile defense, and high altitude capabilities to the warfighter. I mean, we're a unique command in the fact that we have the Space and Missile Defense COE, Center of Excellence. That's a proponent for missile defense and high altitude, and that brings all those capabilities to the force. And our technical center, who does a lot of the experimentations across a wide range of with Futures Command, FCOE, things of that nature. And then of course, kind of tied into the history is, we also have 3 operational brigades that kind of bring space down to the tactical level. So you start with 1st Space Brigade. These guys are doing theater missile warning defense globally.
Yeah.
And supporting COCOMs with the Army space planning teams and space control assets. You go to the 100th, GMD, who's protecting our homeland 24/7, and they do that primarily with a National Guard. That's the other side, and then Sergeant Major can kind of hit on this, is we're a multi-component command, right? So majority of those guys are great National Guardsmen, and there's an active flavor in that too. And then, of course, our Sat Ops Brigade, who are really the planners, the global planners for satellite usage across the globe, and they serve the entire DOD across the globe. But I'll turn it over to Sergeant Major to kind of fill in the gaps.
Same question there, buddy. What do you bring to the war? I think one of the things I remember, if I remember correctly, is that when I got out and I started talking to people about space and missile defense, they get this stare in the sky look, and they go, I probably hadn't changed a bit, but yeah, tell me what you bring to the war. I think that's important. And I also say, not only do you bring to the warfighter, but do you bring to our country and wrap in ADA and all that other stuff in there. Go ahead.
Roger SMA. One thing I had to give props out to where honest due. So our PAO team, when I came into command, my first stop was our PAO. So it gave me trifos and books. It's messaging the command of what we do. Because people still ask, the Army has space? Well, the Army is the biggest user of space. And that's what SMDC does with all the commands we do have. And you look at our tech center, they're testing and developing new generation technology. We have the range out there in Kwajalein. It's the most farthest island that we have for the American territory.
I've been there.
And the water's great. I can't swim, but I put my toes in, and I kind of feel I want to go look.
I played golf when I was there.
Right, so I'm estimating. And then we have our COE, our Center of Excellence. Everybody is used to trade out. It's like our big schoolhouse, like a big university.
Yeah.
They have 169 courses they teach. I mean, we train them, they educate them, they develop capacity of doctrine, concepts. You name it, they do all that. And both of those are led by SESs. So with everything they do in that respect, our command, we're constantly developing the warfighter for we need for the future. And one thing, SMA, you kind of highlight on, the people nowadays with space. You look at now the Space Force has stood up officially in SpaceCom, and everything we do in General Dixon, my old boss.
Did you work with SpaceCom quite a bit?
Roger, SMA. Master Gun Stalker is the SEL for them, and so General Dixon is the commander. And we do, weekly we have updates with them, and we talk about things that are going on, how we touch. Even part of our command, Chief alluded to, we have the Joint Force Component Command, IMD, Integrated Missile Defense, the SMEs forward to the Joint Force, and also we touch with STRATCOM. And then we look at it for as under STRATCOM, they have all with Admiral Richards, and he's an actual Alabama native.
Yeah.
And I felt it, SMA. I felt the vibe. So can I say one thing, SMA?
Hey, go ahead.
I'm from Mississippi.
Yeah.
Go Bulldogs. But SMA, every day I come to work, he is there is the fan, and then there's Chief. He is I'm not going to hold against him. I'm from Alabama now, but he's an Alabama fan, so I know he's going to say it.
Well, I can go ahead and say Roll Tide, but it's relative to SNDC because we are a global command. 24/7 ops, just like the Alabama fan base is a global fan base.
There you go.
Everybody knows that.
See, SMA, I deal with this every day. and now that Mississippi we won, so now I get to join his club, as he says.
I can see there's a little hostility there. Hey, look, we're talking. I'm going to get out of this real quick. We're talking with Chief Wesley Cleese and CSM Finis Dotson, and you're watching Your Next Mention podcast live with me, Sergeant Major of the Army retired Jack Tilley, and I'm just having so doggone much fun. But if you want to reach out to me, you want to tell people what's going on, you can call me or text me at 844-424-1134, and I'd love to hear from you. I love to hear what you have to say about the podcast. Give me a review. Hopefully it's a good review, but give me a review. Or you can send me an email at smatilley@yournextmission.org. And also you're on social media channels today, and you can send me anything that you want on that social media channels, but try to have positive things. That's what I'm looking for. So let's keep on. We're not going to do these bulldog stuff now. We're going to pick it up for where we left off here a minute ago. So, Chief, there are a lot of proponents and missions of the Space and Missile Defense Command. Can you elaborate on that?
Okay, yeah, we kind of went over it. So again, we're a proponent for space missile defense and high altitude. High altitude's a little different, right? It's a little special. You're talking 60 to 100,000 feet. That kind of resides between the space and the air domain. Our Army Capabilities Manager resides in our SMD COE that kind of takes care of that. And then again, as we talked about before, we push those with our 5 mission support elements, that being, of course, 1st Space Brigade, 100th GMD, and our SAT-OPS Brigade. And, I'll highlight this, too. One thing we don't want to forget about is all those great people and soldiers that support that, and Sergeant Major can certainly talk about that. But they really do support it day to day. And the thing that, when I came into command, that a lot of people don't realize, and even with our warrant officers, but really our soldiers and everything, is that we also produce our own schools. So when a soldier comes into one of those brigades to do a role, like a 140 Alpha, if I was a 140 Alpha, we have 140 Alphas that fulfill a certain role, they are still trained, they get extra training to do it, they get a separate ASI for either being a theater missile warning guy or a sensor manager and stuff like that. So we're kind of unique in that aspect too. So it's not a general Army flavor type of thing, and that goes across our MI warrants and all our other warrants that kind of serve that.
One thing, it just made me think of something here. When I was in Space and Missile Defense Command, I went out to California, and we had sergeants and E5s and staff sergeants that were running, I guess, satellites and doing all this stuff. And the Air Force had colonels and majors. Is that still the same?
It is still the same.
I'm not knocking anybody now.
It's still the same SMA, and it's amazing what our NCOs and soldiers do on a daily basis, but they get after the mission. And one thing SMA, kind of what Chief said, our 100 GMD, we got the title for them is 300 protecting 300 million. Yeah. And that's 24/7. I like to say 25/8, but they are getting after it every day. Even in the midst of the COVID time, those crews did not miss a beat. They kept sequestered. They did the right thing and kept everyone safe. And that's amazing. And the one thing that tied to that is that also SMDC, we are the AMD integrator for the Army.
Yes. Tell people what AMD integrator is.
Air and Missile Defense.
Okay.
So a lot Patriot, THAAD, Avenger, MSURE. So we are the integrator, and that's also helps through with JIFIC IMD. So we have a lot of touch points in the command that we help throughout the warfighter. So it's amazing how much the depth of this command really is. And I didn't really get appreciation until I got here at SMA. I was an AMD CSM in 94th in INDOPACOM.
Yeah.
So I have over 12 years in INDOPACOM in leadership position and throughout my career. But it's amazing what this command really touches. It's all about the people and bringing them in and keeping that expertise constantly maintained.
You both can answer any of those questions, but if I remember correctly, the education level of just your command is pretty high. I mean, can you sort of, either one of you talk about that? I mean, I was amazed. I mean, I think everybody had a master's or a doctorate or whatever, and these are young soldiers, so it's pretty smart kids.
Well, and estimate the GT scores of most of our soldiers is very high.
Let's not talk about mine, but go ahead.
But they're high. They're smart. They're smart soldiers. And even though we have a lot of engineers, so that alone brings a lot. So I kind of default to our program for interns. We have our focus on STEM. So like we have our SMART program. It's our science, math, and technology development course. We bring people in, they work real-world projects, and also we give them a job afterwards. I mean, that's amazing. And then our soldiers we have right now, that's in our SAT-OPS brigade, in those soldiers, 25 series, estimate those soldiers, the mindset they have, the knowledge versus serving us versus some other industry like L3 Harris. They are equatable. They could be making 6 figures, but they here in serving our country, selfless service, and making sure we can stay safe and sleep at night.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll add a couple things to that too, and it's kind of uniqueness of again having the operational side of the command and the proponency side of the command. You know, often out in active force and where we came from in air defense, we talk about STEM in particular. That's where a lot of our warrant officers are the face for the command, and talking to those engineers outside of the organization to kind of make the weapon system better or whatever they're doing. The unique thing about SMDC is that's already resident inside the command, where you have that kind of capability that's resident, whether it's in the COE or the tech center. You know, our guys are doing that, or inside the synchronized inside the command, and also outside the command to help do that. So that's pretty unique about us.
Yeah. Is it hard for you guys to get people because of the qualifications and the equipment and stuff? It seemed. Do you have a recruiting problem bringing people in space and missile defense?
SMA, I wouldn't say it's not a challenge. It's just right now, so 29% of Americans can't even serve in the military. Recruiting command. So you figure we're recruiting them in, and then you look at the other services that need that same population with the GT orders on the STEM environment. We're getting them in, but that's what we have, like our SEED program, the internships. You know, this is SMDC serving underserved cybersecurity, education, engineering, education development. We have 12 currently in the command to help people, one, understand what we do in the command, and also share what they can do in the military. Not just us as SMDC, but also the MI office, cyber, or Signal. Yep. So we don't really have a problem. It's just getting people to understand, like you said earlier, understand the Army does have space. It's just not Space Command or Air Force. The Army is we're the lead in technology in the Army. So that's just advertising, getting that out there, and what you're doing right now to help us get that message out there to people that the business is good for it. You can come anywhere you want to. You come to SMDC as an internship, the SMART program, the SSEP. You come on at the
Are you getting people out of college, though?
Yes, SMA.
Straight out of college?
We do, and that's part of our SMART program. They come out, do the internship, we work real-world projects. Like in our tech center, we have the CAL, Capabilities Lab. You know, they're now working real projects. So we're working like University of Huntsville, A&M, and other colleges out there we are partnering with, and it's going great, SMA.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of people cross-trained? Like, if I'm an infantry guy or I'm a tanker now, don't say anything. I'm a tanker. If I want to go from tanks to space, is that hard to do, reclassified, I guess? I imagine, I don't think you probably get a lot of people that reclassified.
Well, we have our FA-40. A lot of officers come over that. And also we have the AFAT program as well, Area Function, Area Transfer. So in the Army, so people who want to come over, those are avenues they can do. And constantly with our PAO team, they're constantly marketing what we're doing and what they can come over. And now that SpaceCom is actually, and Space Force is actually here, so people can go that route as well. So,
I was reading something the other day that was talking about the fact that Army, Marine Corps, other services was going into the Space Command. That was getting. You're smiling at that. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? But they was going out of the service and going into Space Command. I don't know if there's much upward mobility there, but are you getting any guys that are doing that for you guys?
Well, we have those that are transitioning over there. You know, it's a volunteer basis. It's not a mandatory push them over there. Those who want to do inter-service transfer can go over. I mean, we even have one of our sergeant majors. He's going over, and it's a sergeant major. And he's a former air defender, SMA, and now he's Signal. But it's good for us as an Army.
Is there a position for him?
Yes, it is SMA, because they're doing recruitment, and so it's good that for one, it helps Space Force, Space Command, help them develop. Bring that soldier over to transition to the Space Force, that what they bring to the fight, the skill sets, how to develop them, like our PME, how does that equate from Army to Space Force, and then their own identity. So it's a great thing, but as you can imagine, we're the ASSC to the Space Command, the Navy has one, the Army, they all have one to them, and we all work great together. And we call it, with Master Gun Stalker, we always have touch points to share what we're doing. We had our first offsite, we have one coming up, so we are cross-talking, and it's amazing that how we work together. I mean, and nowadays, look at the uniforms, SMA. Us in the Air Force.
I'm not sure I like that, but go ahead. I mean, the fact that we're all sort of blending in, and that's good. I think that at one point in time we'll probably all be purple. We talked about that when I was in the service. So. And Chief, what about are the officers going over there to the new Space Force too?
Well, not as of yet. There isn't a warrant officer program to go over there, so our current warrant officers will stay where they are. I'm not sure if they can volunteer to do a transfer or not if they've met their 6 years of obligation. Yeah. And then in terms of other challenges too, I think another thing people don't realize outside the command is that, in terms of people first, we talked about the 3 operational commands. Most of our guys are forward deployed doing 24/7 ops. Yeah. Even in 1st Base Brigade, they're forward deployed all the time, and there's no ARFRGen that kind of cycles that back in and out. So
how do you go about marketing space? I know everything's about marketing, and for me now, especially in the civilian sector now, how do you market and tell people, tell the Army about what all the stuff you guys do? I mean, is there? I know you go to a lot of conferences and stuff like that, and you do a lot of stuff, but that's probably really pretty doggone important.
In SMA, you look at a BCT. They have over 3,000 pieces of equipment that are space enabled.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what, I went to Sergeant Major's Academy about 2 weeks ago, talking to Sergeant Major Shirley, Deputy Commandant, about in the PME. We got D3SOE, denied, degraded, and disrupted space and operation environment. So we're telling people, I think we got an assumption that we push a button, you pick up an item, and it works. But now knowing the so what, especially now with our adversaries and our peer threats, is that how do we protect ourselves? And that's how we market it. And like I said, I have our PAO team. I got the books. I got the trifolds. When I'm on a plane in SMA, I'm getting them out like candy. I'm talking to people, and people are like, I didn't know that. And I tell people, their children, they want to come in the Army. So I'm up.
Do you use the social media channels? As far as marketing or do anything, or how do when I was in the military, we had an iPhone. I mean, I guess we had an iPhone, probably a flip top, I guess. But it was more of calling and talking, and we do emails and stuff. But now it's a lot different. Can you talk a little bit about that, Chief?
Well, it's eye-opening to me too. We talked about it. When I came here, I didn't really understand a lot about SMDC either. But yeah, through our PAO team, we do a lot of great stuff on social media, and conferences and things of that nature. And I'm trying to think. I'm drawing a little blank here. I don't know if you can pick this up, but I'm trying to think of the other thing we do.
Yeah, the other platforms we use is that we use LinkedIn. They have Facebook, even Instagram. I mean, they use those venues to tell our story. Anybody out there, you go in the Space and Missile Defense Command, you can look at everything we're doing, and we're all tied to the other services and the components. So we are marketing. I mean, we do podcasts. I mean, even my CG, he was in Wisconsin throughout the pitch out there at the game. He was with Bob Euchre. Everybody know who he is. So we're marketing the command. I mean, every opportunity we can. So there's no opportunity. If I get it, I'm going to plug SMDC.
Yeah, you got to do that. Hey, look, first of all, let me say I've really enjoyed talking to you guys. It's really it's a lot of great information that I wish more people knew about what you guys and what the capabilities going. I'd probably ask you a ton more questions. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to leave the audience with? Or, something that's really important? It doesn't have, it's all important, wait a minute. But something that you think is, that you just want to share with the audience. There's a lot of stuff you guys do, again, that people just don't know anything about. So any final thoughts, Chief?
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, I'll lead off with people first. That's the most critical asset to our command and Army and entire DOD. The other side of that is we use cutting edge technology to get to future capabilities, whether it's space and missile defense.
Yeah.
I think today we heard this demonstration with soldiers using terms to, I can't think of the term now.
Interoperability?
Well, no, interoperability. They're using, they use capability. They're using capability to get to figure out issues before they go and build a capability.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's escaping me right now.
You're talking about Futures Command and those guys like that.
Yes. Yeah. They're using the can't think of it. But And then, of course, the demand for space and missile defense is still continuing to grow as the threat grows, especially in space. Space is the new domain, and it's growing every day. And keeping on top of that is critically important.
There you go. Sergeant Major, any final thoughts you got there?
But first of all,
I like your haircut. Go ahead.
Hey, so you might get a comment that the glare off my head, I didn't tone it down, so it might be a glare. So
No, I got you. Well, I don't want to take my hat off because you see another glare. But go ahead. Any final thoughts?
SMA. SMA, I just want to say, first of all, thanks on behalf of CG and the command. Thanks for the opportunity to even come on here and talk about our command. But at the end of the day, it's about the people. And the people is what make this command successful. And at the end of the day, know that we are protecting everybody with all the commands, our units we have. And remember, we are securing the high ground. From mud to space, we got you covered. And I appreciate you, and take care.
Oh, God. Chief and Sergeant Major, first of all, I want to thank you guys for what you do and what you continue to do. Not, again, I've said this a couple times, but not just for our Army, but really for our country. And I don't think most people that are listening to us today really understand what their capabilities are. And I just want to thank you again for that.
Thank you, SMA.
And tell you guys you're watching SMA Tilley at live stream today, and I'm so motivated about what I've heard today. We start off today talking about transitioning and how we can help our veteran transition. Then we went into talking about a nonprofit still serving veterans that helps each and every one of our families. Every day they find somebody, help them get a job or whatever, but people that care so much about our veterans and our family and all this stuff. And then we're finishing up with you guys talking about space and missile defense. Let me tell you something. This is important work for our country, and they're doing a heck of a good job. And again, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough for what you guys do and what you continue to do. And usually at this part of the show, they always say, they call it SMA's thoughts, and I'm really, sometimes I'm sort of lost at words. I'm never lost at words here today, but yesterday we was all talking to the camera guys and all this, and what a great group of people. But was talking about the military and the fact that most people don't know much about the military. And they don't know the kind of sacrifices that we make each and every day. It's about God. It's about our country. It's about living. It's about giving back. It's not what you have. It's what you do with what you have. And so I just, this is not going to be our last podcast. We're going to do more. And we're going to help our country, only we're going to help them in different ways. So God bless you. Thanks for listening today, and see you on the high ground. Hoo-ah!
Ooh.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
it again.
The good thing about you guys, you're last.